What if everything we were told about Caitlin Clark's injury was a lie? We're talking about one of the biggest stars in all of women's basketball, the Indiana Fever's future, the face of a growing league, and yet, something about her recent injury and the official story around it just doesn't add up. You're about to see footage that contradicts public statements, questionable decisions by team management, and media coverage that looks a little too convenient. This isn't just about a bruised ankle, it's about trust, exposure, and whether fans are being told the whole truth. Let's unpack what really happened on August 7th, and why the real story might be way worse than anyone imagined. It all started on August 7th. Reports surfaced from Fever insiders and beat writers like Chloe Peterson and Scott Agnes that Caitlin Clark had tweaked her left ankle during a workout. Official wording? A very mild bone bruise. Harmless, right? They stressed it wouldn't affect her return timeline. She was already sidelined for a groin issue, so no big deal. But here's the thing. If Clark was already out recovering from a groin injury, why was she even working out hard enough to risk tweaking her ankle? Why risk your franchise player when she's not fully healthy? That alone had people raising eyebrows. But then the story took a turn, because footage from that exact same day, August 7th, tells a completely different story. Here's a video of Caitlin Clark walking around that same day, August 7th, the day she supposedly suffered that ankle injury. And what did the footage show? Clark walking totally normal. No limp, no hesitation, no sign of pain. She wasn't in workout clothes. She showed up in casual gear, carrying a massive designer bag, looking comfortable and composed. You'd never guess anything happened to her that day. So, what gives? Did the injury happen earlier than reported? Was it downplayed? Or worse, was it fabricated to cover something else? Now here's where things get even stranger. Before this whole ankle tweak was ever reported, Caitlin Clark's movement had already started raising questions. In earlier footage, creators and fans noticed something unusual. Her stride looked off. She wasn't walking with her normal confidence. Her motion looked mechanical. Not injured, necessarily, but definitely not natural. Almost like something wasn't aligned in her leg or hip, because from what the video shows, there is no injury. Not on that day. Not in that moment. Not in the way they told us. Wait, do you see it too? She's walking completely fine. If you caught something I missed in that footage, drop it in the comments. Let's break this thing down together. And while you're here, smash that like button if you're tired of the media brushing this stuff off. And this wasn't just post-injury. This was before the official timeline even began. So was Clark already dealing with a deeper issue that was being masked? Maybe the ankle wasn't the primary problem. Maybe it was a side effect of something much bigger, something the Fever hoped to slide under the radar. And if that's the case, the timeline is broken, because what they said was just the tip of the iceberg. And this wasn't just post-injury. This was before the official timeline even began. So was Clark already dealing with a deeper issue that was being masked? Maybe the ankle wasn't the primary problem. Maybe it was a side effect of something much bigger, something the Fever hoped to slide under the radar. And if that's the case, the timeline is broken, because what they said was just the tip of the iceberg. And somehow, the Fever allowed her to push hard enough that she injured the other leg? That's not just a mishap, that's a failure. It screams of either negligence or desperation. Did the team want to rush her back too soon? Were they under pressure to get their star back on the court, no matter the cost? Because from the outside, it looks like they gambled with her health and lost. This is where things stop being just sports and start looking like a full-blown cover-up. If you're still watching right now, you're part of the 1% who actually pays attention. So go ahead and hit subscribe, because we're going deeper than anyone else out here. Let's fast forward. 2 weeks after August 7th, new footage of Caitlin Clark shows her limping badly. Now wait a minute. If the ankle injury was a minor bone bruise on August 7th, why is she limping 2 weeks later? Even for a high-impact athlete, mild bone bruises don't typically linger that long, especially if they don't affect the return timeline, unless either the injury was more serious than reported, or it didn't happen on August 7th at all. And here's the kicker. The limp is on full display in more than one appearance, not just on the court but walking into arenas, at media events, you name it. So now we've got a visible limp and an invisible injury. Somebody's lying. Just when things couldn't get messier, Sophie Cunningham enters the picture. During a recent matchup, fans noticed what looked like Cunningham mocking Clark's limp after a foul call. She slightly exaggerated her walk, smirked, then turned away. Just enough for fans to notice, and the internet exploded. Was it a cheap shot? A joke? A full-on mockery of an injured player? The WNBA hasn't made a formal statement, but fans didn't need one. The clip went viral, and it added fuel to a fire that was already blazing. Because now, Caitlin's injury wasn't just a medical issue, it had become a league-wide flashpoint, a moment that showed just how visible and vulnerable she really was. Now here's where things start feeling more sinister. Some of the most detailed information about Caitlin Clark's injuries? Locked behind paywalls. Scott Agnes, a reputable Fever Beat reporter, posted updates about Clark's situation, but only on his subscription site, which sparked outrage. Fans, especially younger WNBA fans, were stunned. How could something this important be hidden behind a paywall? It wasn't just about the money, it was about the principle. Why profit off an injury? Why keep critical updates locked away while misinformation spreads? It created a divide. The in-crowd, with access to details, and the rest of the public stuck guessing. And when trust is already shaky, that's a dangerous game. Now let's take a step back. When you connect the dots, the timeline issues, the contradicting footage, the odd limp, the media gatekeeping, a bigger picture starts to emerge. This isn't just about a sprained ankle. It's about a franchise desperately trying to manage a narrative. It's about a media ecosystem that thrives on clicks and exclusivity. And it's about a player caught in the middle, a generational talent whose every move is under a microscope. So what are they hiding? Is Caitlin's injury more serious than we've been told? Was the team trying to rush her return? Is there something going on behind the scenes that fans aren't supposed to know about? Because if they misled us about one injury, even just the date, then what else could they be covering up? Yo, if you're starting to feel like this runs deeper than just an ankle tweak, you're not alone. Tap that like button to boost this video. Drop your theory in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss what we uncover next. Here's what we know for sure. Caitlin Clark was not limping on August 7th, even though that's the day they claim she got hurt. Later footage shows a limp, but the timeline doesn't add up. The Fever say it's minor, but she's still not back. Sophie Cunningham's drama, media paywalls, and sketchy footage only make things worse. So we're left with a mystery, and you have to ask yourself, if this was a male NBA star, would we be getting vague updates and paywalled stories? Or would everything be crystal clear? The truth about Caitlin Clark's injury still hasn't come out, but one thing is certain, somebody's lying, and the fans deserve better. Drop your theories in the comments. Do you believe the August 7th story? Hit that bell because the next time the Fever speak, we'll be watching every word. Until then, keep your eyes open, because the game off the court might be even dirtier than the one on it.